What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for watching, listening, and subscribing. This is episode 4 of the Blaklist podcast. Today's guest is a former junior WHL hockey player coming from Saskatchewan, Canada. I'm grateful to have this guy on the show. He's got an amazing story. Ladies and gentlemen, DJ McGrath.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. This is awesome. I mean, we're doing something good. I mean, we all of us have some type of background on drugs and alcohol, and no, this is awesome, guys. So from me to you guys, this is awesome, coming all the way from Saskatchewan. So this is awesome. The networking, it's phenomenal. So thank you.
Definitely. As I was saying before, you get in this. The recovery community is it's amazing how huge it is,
Mm-hmm.
and you get in this wormhole, and then you just start finding people, after people, and then you realize, wow, I'm not the only person dealing with, mental health, or I'm not the only person dealing with addiction. And so, we do this to let everyone know from all walks of life that addiction and mental health, it's not partial to anybody, and we all have a story to tell. So, this is opportunity for you to tell yours and do your thing, man. We definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on. So, I'm DJ McGrath. I'm 30 years old. Basically, my whole life, I played junior hockey, played in the WHL, and played some college hockey. And grew up in a small town called Kinnersley, Saskatchewan, about 4,500 people, and it was the best for me, man. I mean, it was the best thing that could happen to me. I had 3 to 4 best buddies. We would play multiple sports growing up. I'd always go to school and hit out that outdoor rink. I had 2 older brothers, Tyler and Dana. They're quite older than me. That kind of led the path for me to hockey. So they were both hockey players as well, and athletes too. So it kind of led me the path. And I remember I was a pretty athletic kid. I had the edge on kids growing up, I guess you could say. I was never the bully. I remember I just had a good childhood. And as I started getting older, hockey started to get a little more serious. Now, when I was 12 to 13 years old, there was these people called scouts on hockey teams. So they were hired on this team to basically travel around, find the best kids in Canada or the world, I guess, to play in this WHL. And my parents, we didn't really know much about what was going on. We didn't know, because Kinnersley, we didn't really have high level hockey, I guess you could say, right? So I had to move. So this is about 12 years old. I remember there's a story. Me, my mom and dad sitting around the kitchen table with my brothers, and we get a knock at the door, and there's this older gentleman. He was wearing a black trench coat, I'll never forget, and he was kind of rude to my dad, and he said, "All I want to see is your kid." And I remember me being 12 years old and me getting up there and him not even saying a word to me and just looking at me from head to toe. And he's like, said his thank yous and goodbye. And right there, that was the first time I started feeling a sense of pressure. And this all comes with hockey. And my parents not knowing much about hockey, we had to rely on all the outsiders. We had to rely on other people to tell me what the best decision, because I was hockey ready, but I was not mental ready to go make a step. Because when I was at 15 years old, I had to make a big move to the big city of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, which is 2 hours away. So I was the only kid on that hockey team that had a billet with a whole different family. So I had to move away from home at a young age, live with a total different family I didn't know, and ended up getting put in with a school teacher. And I remember it was just red flags. I didn't get along with my billets, and this is when I started drinking. I remember moving out there. I was hockey ready. I couldn't tell my mom and dad how nervous I was. I didn't want to go because I knew I was homesick. I was really close with my family, and moving away at 15 years old, guys, fuck, it's tough. Like, I wish looking back now how seriousness it was, but I was just that good at hockey. I was hockey ready. And for me to excel, for me to get to the NHL, I had to make sacrifices. So at 15, I remember packed up that minivan and moved to Saskatoon. And 2 months in, I remember hockey's a culture with drinking, right? It's normalized in the hockey community. It's normalized in sports and hockey parties. Remember the second month, I had my first sip of alcohol at 15, and it almost seemed like I was addicted to it. My feelings were gone. My nervousness was gone. my depression, anxiety was gone. And I was such a young age, I thought it was normal to drink. What I was feeling inside, I was always the guy at parties who used to shotgun beers in front of everyone to try to make everyone else happy, trying to make everyone else feel good. But me, deep down inside, I was feeling like a bag of shit. But I couldn't tell my mom and dad what was going on. I couldn't tell my teammates. I couldn't tell my coaching staff, because the stigma in sports, especially us men having to be the tough guys all the time, not showing any weakness, because I was scared if I would have showed weakness to my hockey team, to my coaching staff, they would think I'd be a problem to that hockey team, or I would miss the spot in my lineup or whatever. There's voices in my head telling me all these things. And for me, leaving at such a young age, I wasn't ready. So I remember I played 2 years down there, and it wasn't very good. I was still a top scorer of that hockey team, but my mental health was slowly fading away. And then now there's this thing called the draft. So after my second year of playing Saskatoon, I had to come home to finish my school year. So I'd have been in grade 10. And I got to come home to Kindersley and finish my school year. And I was pretty rock bottom. I was depressed, anxiety, and I'm starting to drink every day. With me coming home back to my hometown, I was the only kid in my hometown that got to play pretty good level hockey and moving away. So kids back at home were looking up to me. I was supposed to be a role model, but me, I couldn't handle it. The pressures, me being the hometown here and me not be able to handle it, because I'm sitting here drinking every day. I'm homesick. All I want to do is be at home, but I didn't want to let my mom and dad down. I didn't want to let my brothers down and my friends down. I felt like I was stuck, and the only thing I could do was play hockey and try to deal with it on my own. And I remember I was drinking beers during my 15-minute breaks in class. I was smoking cigarettes. And I remember there was always these two school teachers that used to bring me in and just be like, DJ, what are you doing? Like, you're a role model to the community. What are you doing? But I just kind of brushed it off, because I didn't want it to tell anyone what was going on, because there's a sense of defeat for me. For me being an athlete, I didn't want anyone to know I was weak or something was going on, because it's just the way I was. So then I ended up, so the draft in how hockey works, it's called the Western Hockey League. So it's pretty much pro level from 16 years old to 20 years old, and you get drafted to a team. And I'll never forget, I was sitting in math class, and there's an intercom and said, DJ, come down the office. And I'll never forget, I'm walking down the office, and the teachers are giving me a standing ovation that I got drafted 3rd round, 66 overall. So I was the 66th pick in Western Canada's, and that's pretty good. And I remember I was fucking scared. I was shitting my pants. Everyone was cheering. Oh my God, DJ, congratulations. But here I am, nervous. I'm anxiety's through the roof. I'm depressed. I'm already 2 hours away from home, homesick, drinking my feelings away. And now I've got drafted to Everett, Washington. So that's 20 minutes away from Seattle. So that's a 22-hour drive now. And I remember, I'm like, holy fuck, here we go. Now all the memories in my head, all the voices in my head of me not letting my mom and dad down. I had to go to Everett. I thought at that age I couldn't talk to anyone. I wish I did, but the only thought I had was I had to go, because I didn't want to let anyone down. So I remember I finally got in shape that year to go down to that hockey camp. And I guess I wasn't in that good a shape, because here's a pretty good story for you guys. So I remember me and my mom and dad packed up our minivan, drove 22 hours to go to this hockey camp. I was the first forward selected in that hockey camp. So they had pretty high hopes for me. And I remember I didn't really work out. I'm still drinking every day. I'm smoking weed now and smoking cigarettes. And I go to this hockey camp. And at the end of the hockey camp, what usually happens is you and the general manager of that hockey team and your dad, they have a meeting. And I'll never forget me being 17 years old, walking into that general manager's office and him telling me, DJ, I just want to talk to your dad. And I'll never forget, I remember going to my mom, like, Mom, this is cool. Maybe I made this hockey team. Like, this is different. And my dad didn't tell me till 4 years later, thank God, that the general manager told my dad to stop leaving bags of chips around the house, so your son's never going to play for my hockey team ever. Who says that to a fucking 17-year-old kid?
Yeah.
22 hours away from home, already battling mental health. And I'm so thankful to this day that my dad didn't tell me, because I wouldn't have laced up my skates if I would have got told that. My dad would have told me that. So anyways, I ended up coming back and playing for Saskatoon one more year. Then I ended up coming back and ended up making that WHL hockey team. I thought this is the first big accomplishment ever. I thought maybe I could grow up. Maybe I could make myself proud, because that was one of my goals. My goal is to make the NHL, and this is a big step, is me getting to this WHL hockey team. And I remember it was rock bottom, guys. Week into it, I remember buying my first case of beer and drinking by myself after practices every day. I'd go to I'm still living with billets. I would lock myself in my room and cry myself to sleep every night.
How much were you drinking at that time? Like every day?
Yeah, every day, man. I'd have 7, 8 beers, like by myself. Parents calling me, I'm telling them everything's fine. I'm having a great time, but here I am, depressed, anxiety's through the roof. I'm trying to perform on ice because I got to be the best every day. And I couldn't. It was everything, all the pressures, the voices in my head. I lasted out there for 2 years. There's a pretty good story, guys, how I almost crazy what happened. So I was in Everett. We were playing a hockey game. So a kid who lived with me on my hockey team, he plays in the NHL right now. I'm not going to say his name, but he got drafted second overall in the NHL. And he was my roommate in Everett. And they matched us together so I could look after this kid. And I remember we played a game on New Year's Eve. We played against the Seattle Thunderbirds, and we had a big game, and we ended up winning. And you know, the hockey culture, hopefully the coach is going to let us go out and party with the boys after whatever. And the coach comes in, boys, 12:30 curfew tonight. Where I remember, like, fuck, like, we just want to go out and have fun. Like, we just had a big game. And I remember looking over at my roommate, and I'm like, well, why don't we go home for a curfew? Because we would get curfew calls from the coaches at 12:30 at night to make sure we're home. And why don't we get that phone call, and why don't we go out, because there's a high school party going on. I'll never forget, man. I remember going home, getting that curfew call, and heading out to this party. And me and my roommate were partying until about 4 or 5 in the morning with the high school. That no people were on that hockey team. We were the only 2 kids on that hockey team at this high school party. And it's about 3 or 4 in the morning. And we're like, oh, how are we going to get home? And me being that mindset I was at, I'm like, well, let's just drive home. Never forget. Driving home, and I remember pulling into 7-Eleven, grabbing whatever, and me leaving that parking lot and me making the wrong turn. And me in the United States, remember looking in my rearview mirror and cops pulling me over. 18 years old now, first time ever in my life getting pulled over. I'm drunk, playing in the WHL in the United States, and I got a kid that's supposed to be in the NHL in the future. We're both drunk now. I remember I was shitting my pants, man, 18 years old. I just got memories of my mom, dad, I'm going to go to jail. What's the town, my hometown, going to think of me? Because everyone thinks I'm having a great time playing hockey in Everett. Everyone thinks I'm having there's no problems in the world. But here I am pulled over 3 o'clock in the morning. I remember the cop comes up to me and he's like, hey, you've been drinking, sir? And I'm like, no, I just went to a party and I'm just trying to get home. And he asked for my ID or whatever. I remember him going back to his car, 3 more cop cars. Four cop cars behind me now. I remember I'm bawling. 18 years old from Saskatchewan. Me and my roommate are from Saskatchewan. Young kids. He's 16. I'm 18. We're both athletes. I've never been pulled over in my life. And now we're trying to find old Coke bottles, old Pepsi bottles, trying to drink it up. And the cop comes back, breathalyzes me. And he said, you lied to me. And I said, I'm sorry, officer. I play for the Everett Silvertips. I just made a mistake. I'm just trying to get home. And remember him going back to his cop car, and 5 minutes later comes back. He's like, so, Mr. McGrath, you don't realize that how big of a role model you are in the city. I'm going to give you 2 options. 1, I'm going to put you to jail tonight. Or 2, I'm going to put you in the back of a cop car and I'm going to take you home. Took me home that night. That day still haunts me, man. I still relive that night. Some nights I think, why did he do that to me? Why did I catch that break? I probably wouldn't be here today if that would have happened. And that's just a prime example of what was going on when I'm supposed to be playing good level hockey, and what my mental health and this decision making. I was almost creating a new person playing hockey. And I remember calling my dad, telling Dad, I'm done. I couldn't take it anymore. So I ended up coming back home to my hometown. We have a junior A program here. And my dream was to play for this junior A program. My parents used to billet the Clippers. They're called the Kindersley Clippers. My parents used to billet them. And I was the stick boy and water boy growing up. So when I was a kid, this was my goal, was to ultimately play for the Kindersley Clippers. And I remember thought coming home, my homesick was going to go away. Maybe I'm going to stop drinking. Maybe my anxiety, my depression, my pressure is going to go away, because I'm at home now living with my mom and dad, playing hockey, and boy, was I wrong again. I remember I had a bad knee injury that year. Talk about injuries in sports, guys. I remember I ruptured my ACL, so I tore it right off, and I tore my MCL, my kneecap, at the same time. And I got severe arthritis right now because I didn't really take care of it. And I remember I couldn't watch my hockey team without being drunk. I couldn't handle. I thought me being injured, I let the whole team down. And that's coming from the voices in my head telling me all these things. After practice, I'd come watch practice. Every day, I'd lock myself in my room and cry myself to sleep every night. I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only kid going through this. If I told my family, if I told my teammates, my coaching staff, they wouldn't understand. Till my 20-year-old year, guys, playing hockey was a nightmare. I couldn't take it anymore, but that's the only thing I knew. And then I ended up getting a full ride scholarship to Red Deer, and this is when I got introduced to cocaine. I got a full ride scholarship, 5 free years of school. And I tell this in my speaking engagements. I had 5 fucking free years of school, and I pissed it all away. I got a full ride to Red Deer, Alberta, and got to play hockey. This is the first time moving away from home, going to school now, living on my own and playing hockey. I thought I could grow up. I remember packing my own car up, going to Red Deer for my 3rd time, trying to better myself, doing the sport I love, but just trying to, now that I'm 21 years old now, maybe I could grow up. Remember getting to Red Deer, and I was at the bars every night. I don't know why. I couldn't handle my feelings. I couldn't handle my thoughts. I couldn't handle the pressures. I just couldn't handle moving home. And I remember I wasn't even showing up for practices. I wasn't even showing up for team functions anymore. I was still the assistant captain. I was still one of the top scorers in that hockey team. But boy, when I was away from that hockey rink, it was game on with partying. I remember the whole first year was a write-off. I wasn't even going to school anymore. I would cheat. I would steal money from my parents when they were feeding me money, because obviously I wasn't making money because I was going to school and playing hockey. Parents were feeding me money thinking I was spending it on food and groceries and whatnot, but no, I'm spending it on drugs and alcohol. And it's just crazy now I look back, because I was a kid that never thought about me having any type of mental health, me being an athlete, right? Me being the kid that was a hockey player. And now I'm rock bottom. And I remember after my first year in Red Deer, I couldn't come back to home to Kindersley for the summer and come back. I ended up staying to Red Deer, and this is when I got introduced to cocaine. I remember one of the buddies I met in Red Deer, guy who was on my team, came over and pulled out a bag of cocaine, put it on the table, and tell you the truth, the first time I did cocaine was an unbelievable feeling. My feelings, my anxiety was gone. Feelings were gone. Everything was numb. The first time I did cocaine, I ended up getting addicted to it for 10 years straight, every day. Ended up quitting Red Deer after year 2. I was doing cocaine every day, and I ended up having to move home. So I get teared up. It's still pretty new, guys. I'm 10 months sober now, and I still rethink this night. Like, I come home, and it's now life after hockey. Fuck me. Like,
it's crazy, because you think about it, you were somebody that has the dream, you were able to play a sport that you loved when at a young age, and then you were pretty much it fell into your lap, and then you just didn't know how to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't understand that. They that's like with celebrities and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They got everything they want in the world, but yet they're so empty inside.
Exactly, and they're all givers too. Like I'm a huge giver. Like, I was a big people pleaser. Like, I made sure everyone else was having a good time, because it made me kind of feel good and kind of freeze my feelings and put it on the back burner. And when I ended up coming home, guys, it was terrible. Like, life after hockey, and I pissed school away. I did not know what I want to do with my life because I should still be playing hockey, but no one knows still what's going on. People just thought I quit just because I was sick of it. No one knows I'm a full-time cocaine addict. I smoke weed every day. I'm drinking every day. Now I'm back home in my hometown again. I remember my parents bought me a condo and ended up selling vehicles. I found a job selling vehicles, and I'm still dealing with the public. And this town is such a small town where everyone knows everyone, right? And it was honestly 10 straight years of going to work. 5:30 comes, I'd come home, get a bag of Coke, and lock myself in my room and cry myself to sleep every night, man. It went on for 10 years. Suicide thoughts were creeping in big time. Never, ever would have thought that was going to happen. I remember when I was a kid, you guys probably have it too, where there'd be mental health advocates coming into schools talking about mental health, talking about drugs and alcohol. And I remember me sitting there like, fuck, this is never going to happen to me. I got the best family in the world. I got the best friends. I'm a hockey kid. This will never happen to me. It's crazy how it works. And I remember that I'm going to tell you guys a story. The night that changed my life forever. And I still think about this night. It was like an average night. It was June 6th of 2022. I was laying in bed one night. Suicide thoughts were going through my head. And it was a sense of hope I've never felt. I still can't explain this feeling I had, but it's a sense of hope. It was almost like a devil on one arm and the angel on the other. And the devil telling me, Deej, you're fine. You're going to wake up and it's going to be a repetitive cycle. You're fine. But there's an angel on one side that I've never felt before was like, Deej, this is the night that you could tell someone. I still have yet to figure out this feeling, but it was a sense of hope. And I remember I was scared, man. I remember I was like, I got to go tell my mom and dad. And that from my house to their house, about a 5-minute drive. And I remember it took me a half hour to get over there. Different scenarios in my head. Couple times I'd turn around because I didn't want to let them down. Like after everything they've done for me, and hockey's an expensive sport, right? Dad's countless road trips, countless times coming to watch me play, spending all this money. And now I got to open up and tell them what was really going on. I was petrified for my life, man. I remember finally getting the courage to go to my parents' house. I remember opening up that door, looking at my mom across the room, and I just bawled. It was a sense as like a relief, like finally I'm doing it. Like everything I've kept in for basically since I was 16 years old, it's pouring out of me. Like it was a sense of relief. And remember hearing my mom and dad, my dad's footsteps coming up the stairs and me bawling even more. And because he's my role model. And I remember the only thing that came in my mouth was his dad, I'm dancing with the devil. I remember they let me, I laid everything out on that table. I didn't hide anything. I laid out everything. And I remember the 3 words my mom said to me, man, and saved my life. She gave me the biggest hug and said she was proud of me. Those 3 words right there is saved my life. I still get the shakes. I get butterflies thinking about that, because if I didn't go over to my parents' house that night, I probably wouldn't be here today. It was best, scariest night of my life, man. And now I'm happy to say I'm just over 10 months sober. I remember I took a month for myself and went to the lake and just melted out there, man. Just did my own thing for 10 days. And yeah, I look back, man, and it all could take. That's why I'm an advocate for speaking up, and it's okay to not be okay. Maybe I always look back, I still think about it every day. What if I would have told someone maybe when I was 16 or 17 years old, maybe I would still be playing hockey. You know, yeah. Like I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only guy going through mental health, and especially us athletes, us men, or us having the stigma of being a tough guy. Fuck, I was scared to defeat. I was scared of surrendering myself, because that just wasn't in my dictionary, but it almost put me to death. And I'm so happy I finally surrendered myself, and I'm happy to say I'm 10 months sober. So yeah, man, it was a crazy ride, dude.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I think Brianna had a couple questions.
I mean, I just wanted to say congratulations.
Thank you.
And like you saying, you know, what if you spoke up sooner? It really, like, all that cliche stuff when you're using does not make sense until you get sober, but it happened when you were ready. And
100% it did.
you can think about what if I did something sooner, but it may not have changed anything.
Yeah.
You know, so do you speak to anybody like little, you know, and you're back in your hometown again, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a full-time mental health advocate. Quit my job in December, and as of January, I've been traveling around Canada sharing my story to athletes, hockey players, to grades 7s to 12. So it's crazy, man. Do I ever thought I would ever be an advocate for mental health? Not a chance. But it's just, there's such a big stigma with trying to do stuff on your own and trying to be a tough guy. So, and the day I opened up, so I created a Tik Tok. So this is my 3rd month in, and I just knew other kids and other athletes. I could have been the only one that's going through this. I know there's other athletes and people in general, doesn't have to be athletes, are going through what I can and people could relate to. And I remember did one TikTok, and it kind of went off from there, and I got flown out to Toronto and shared my story to a couple organizations there. And yeah, it's kind of been traveling all around doing what I want to do, because if I could just get my message out to that one person, right, it's makes me happy. So
yeah, that's why we do this too. It's not, you know, again, we're a smaller scale on a platform, but it's not about the followers. It's about how many people we can reach, you know. And it's amazing because just us little guys have been able to reach tens of thousands of people over the last, you know, year, you know, and it's actually really, really cool. And that's just what it's about. It's about if we help one person, you know.
Exactly, man. Exactly. That's huge.
Exactly.
It's huge.
People don't understand, you know, especially like in your position, you know, where again, you know, you have everything at your fingertips, you know. Why is life so horrible, you know? And it's like, man. And again, you know, just like Brianna said, like everything happens the way it was supposed to. Everything happens in the right timing, you know. You got to let it flow naturally instead of trying to push it, you know. And it just, that's the way it did. It, like you said, you know, you can question what if this and what if that, but at the end of the day, it's about the here and the now.
Exactly.
You know? It's not about how hard we fell, but it's about how hard we get back up and what do we do with that, you know?
Oh, exactly. And it's taken me a while, obviously, because I'm not used to that. I obviously had to make a big change, right? And you're 100% right, man. You can't dwell on the past. Yeah, we have past, but yeah, you're right. Everything happens for a reason. And we're here today because of what our past, right? So yeah, I'm a firm believer on that too, for sure.
Yeah. None of us wake up and say we want to be drug addicts, you know?
Exactly. No, exactly, man. It's crazy. It's fuck. Like, it's just, yeah, every time I say my story, it's just like, wow. Like,
right.
You know? So no, it's crazy, man.
So when you were younger, you know, you had all the pressure of playing hockey and stuff like that. Now that you are traveling and helping other people, what are you continuing to do for yourself to make sure you stay grounded, and when you're traveling, you're staying sober and staying on track?
Yeah, no, that's an important question. So obviously my social medias, because if I slip up once, I'm holding myself accountable by setting my own platforms and sharing my experiences and whatnot. And what I emphasize too is having a routine's huge. Like example, like journaling, man. I never thought I would in my life, but that's a lifesaver. I wake up and I make my bed. First thing I do, like you say, it's a cliche thing to say, but when you're a guy that's been through it and sober, it is kind of legit. So I make my bed, journal, go to the gym, and walk. And I have my little network who I talk to all the time too. Like I call my mom first thing in the morning. That's a huge step. I call my mom right when I wake up, because I still deal with anxiety and depression every day. I still wake up feeling like a bag of shit, but I know how to cope with those feelings instead of doing coke or drinking and numbing those feelings. I know when it's coming, and I know how to deal with it.
That's a good
and that's important. Yeah, because a lot of people they know, you know, you did drugs and drank alcohol, and then you get sober, but then it's like, then what after that, you know?
Exactly.
Just because you get sober, we talk about this all the time, just because you get sober doesn't mean, you know, your life is perfect. I mean, you got to fight like hell every single day, and you got to treat every day like it's day one. That's what you have to do, because you have to be selfish in your own recovery, you know?
Oh, exactly. And like the biggest thing I've learned too, guys, is the loneliness too. Like having to leave your friendships behind, right? For doing that so long. Like that was the biggest thing is I had to overcome, because I'd make some pretty important decisions for myself, right? And that comes back to you saying you're selfish, and it's so true because you need to be. Because you, at the end of the day, you got to worry about you, and then other stuff is going to come, right? So that's huge, man, that you said that, because that is very true.
I say all the time, being selfish is kind.
I love that, because it's true, though. It is true. And again, when that comes back to you, when you said, like, you have to go through it. Like, like, people don't understand. If there's people out there that haven't had a drug or alcohol problem and they had a good life, it's coming. As bad as it says, like, I don't know, like, I don't think I've met someone that has had a perfect world.
Right.
Like, it's common. But it's got to know how to talk and communicate, and knowing it's okay to not be okay, right? So,
So do you the kid that you're with now that now plays for the NHL, do you guys still communicate at all?
He was my roommate a long time ago, and yeah, we still do keep in touch. He's obviously in NHL, being a busy guy down there, but I have a couple guys I played hockey with. I obviously had to leave the game for a while because I couldn't show my face in our hockey rink for 3 years just because of what was going on. But I'm slowly getting those friendships back, and my best friends that I lost during my addictions, I'm slowly regaining those friendships back. But yeah, I try to text him every once in a while when he's not busy, of course. But
yeah, that busy traveling, practicing, all that good stuff.
Yes. So,
do you ever consider? Are you just traveling around Canada? Are you coming into the States at all?
Oh, I would go wherever, man. Like I said, I do this full time. I mean, I want to get my story out there as much as possible. So that's one of the biggest things. Like, I'm doing this full time. So that's always one of my goals, is to make her out in the States.
Right. Yeah. One day I want to make it to Canada.
Yeah. Well, you could obviously make something work. It's mental health and networking, it's a small world if you really think about it, man. So
That's actually how him and I met.
Oh, really? Hey?
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah, we're both in recovery.
Yeah.
I'm 4.5 years sober.
Good job. Thank you.
You just hit over 3 years.
Good for you guys. Congratulations.
And
that is awesome.
We met through mutual friends, to say, online.
Yeah.
And here we are, almost a year later.
I love that. It's awesome. You guys are meant to be. So you guys might have to go through what you guys had to go through to, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah, I think we had to go through it in order to be where we're at, right?
There you go. I love that, man. It's nice talking to people that understands,
Oh, absolutely. So I have another question too. So you said you're 10 months in.
Yeah.
How different does your mind feel from 10 months ago, or even 3 months ago, or 2 months ago, like thinking and processing stuff? Like,
it's a lot clearer.
I know how I feel, and I'm just asking, somebody that's newer, which is.
Yeah. No, that's a good question, because it took a while. I know, like, 3 months was a battle, like a really hard battle. But now I'm clear-headed. Like, waking up sober is the best feeling in the world. And like, there's no regrets from the night before. Like, my mind, but one thing I really got to work on is patience. I'm not really good at being patient, and I'm sure we all could say that, right? And that's one thing too. But I'm better decision making, and just trying to relax a bit and not rushing into everything, right? But the clear-headed is the best thing. Waking up in the morning and grabbing that first cup of coffee, it's the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome.
And it's like dealing, as weird as it seems, dealing with life's problems sober is like the most amazing thing in the world.
Oh man, it is. And I don't know. I was a big worry wart. I mean, when the situation came at me when I was darkest times, I always thought about the absolute worst. Like, it was, and like, trying to do decision making when you're all fucked up, like, it doesn't really go well, right? Obviously. So no, it's good, man. It's awesome. I'm happy. I'm really happy, and just thankful. I'm thankful.
Yeah, I mean, you're grateful that you're alive, and especially, I don't know how bad it is in Canada, but I know here in the United States, they cut everything with fentanyl, and I don't know how bad it is there, but I mean, you're just to be able to wake up another day, because I know so many people that took one sniff, one hit, and they passed away from it, and I always think that for us to be able to wake up and be here is another chance we have,
Exactly. I think about that all the time, man. It is pretty bad down here. That fentanyl shit is, you never know. It's even getting laced with weed now. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, they're starting to lace everything with fentanyl.
Oh,
insane.
It is insane, man. I'm just happy I'm out of the game because it's not like it used to be.
Yeah, exactly.
So while you were using, did you ever try and stop? Like, oh, fuck this. I'm not doing this anymore. And stop for like a day or two here or there, or try?
Yeah, I did. And the voices in my head always won. It was weird for me because when I drank, I knew I'm a really bad guy getting hungover. Like, I was a puker and the head spins. I knew when I was getting to that point, I'd grab an 8-ball. That was my big thing. And I knew the next day I'd be fine. Like, I wouldn't be hungover, which is always a game I would play. But and then obviously you get the regrets the next day, like, fuck, this is the last time I'm doing it. Or that night, you're like, why am I doing this? But I've never sat down and was like, I knew I had a problem, but I wasn't ready. I was never ready, I guess, because my feelings, my thoughts, I was so scared of taking on my thoughts sober, if that makes sense. It was a nightmare. Like, I was playing voices in my head. I painted a picture on my face for 10 years. Like, no one had a sniff of what was going on.
No, I understand. I was kind of a similar way. I had a career, had a family, had everything, and nobody knew a single thing. And then when everything comes out, they're just like, holy shit, I didn't even know that you had an issue.
I know.
And the fact that your parents still supported you, and they didn't, like you said, you just because of what your mother said when you reached out to, that's why you're still here.
Oh, man.
Imagine if they would have went the other direction and would have disowned you and said,
oh yeah, 100%.
People go through that every single day,
Yes, and that's why I'm thankful every single day, man, because you're right. It could have went the other way. Yeah, it's so sad. It changed my life, man. I think about that moment every single day. And those words that she said to me was, I take it and I go with it, man, because that's what's keeping me alive is what happened that night. So,
and you never got the only time that you got pulled, police interaction was when you got pulled over. Did you ever get any other time throughout your using?
No, I was pretty good. I was obviously doing it by myself. I owned a house, man. I had a drug dealer down the street and picked it up, or I'd throw it in the mailbox and lock my door. And yeah, man, it was lonely. A lot of lonely nights of me crying and doing drugs and no one having a sniff. I don't know how I did it. I don't. I still don't know how I did it. I wish someone would have grabbed me, but no one did, I guess. But.
And that's how it happened. Like you said, it started off as a party. You were doing it with other people. You're hanging out with other people. You're doing it with friends, and it ends. You're just by yourself.
Yeah.
And it starts off fun, and then doesn't end fun.
It doesn't, and it's so true because I just couldn't handle my feelings, and with my whole hockey career sliding and down the drain, and me thinking I let everyone down by this, and it was dark days for me. It was bad.
So you touched on the past. You've touched on current. What's in the future for you? What do you have? Do you have any goals, any dreams with doing this? Like what do you want to do overseas?
Yeah, I want to keep doing. I want to keep being a mental health advocate, man. There's so many people that it can be reached out to, and I want to get back involved in the game. Like, I coach young kids right now, and I play some senior competitive hockey. But when I get older, I think I want to get into coaching. I think I would be all right for the kids because I have a background and I know what not to do. And I think because I know it's getting better with mental health in hockey, but it still needs a lot of room for improvement. Because I know I deal with a lot of hockey players right now that reach out to me about mental health and say, I'm scared to tell my coach this, scared to tell my coach that, or I'm injured, but I really want to play. Like, there's a lot of stigma what's going on in the hockey and sport world right now. So that's kind of something I want to focus my attention on when I get older. So, yeah.
Do you have a lot of people that reach out to you since you've come out with everything?
I do, man. That was another big thing was I was scared, especially around my neck of the woods. So where I'm from, it's a big oil and gas and farming community. So it's all blue collar down here, man. So I was scared of what people are going to think of me when I did open up with my story, but I knew there my story would relate to someone. So when I did that, I deal with quite a bit of people reaching out to me every day and doing that. Cause I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook and YouTube now. So it's good, man. I mean, I'm here about giving back, and I think I got a story to share. So
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll when this goes live, we'll link all the all of your socials in there, so that way people know how to contact you and everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, man.
Did you have anything else, Brianna?
Yeah, I just had a question. I think this would help with advice for other people. So you coaching the kids and stuff like that and having your history, do you think it would be easier for you to be able to recognize if someone is struggling? And if you did, how would you handle that? Would you just speak to the kid? Would you speak to their parents? Like, how would you go about that if you notice that in somebody else?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Big thing with mental health, obviously, it's hard to see sometimes. There's a lot of people that are good at hiding it, but I think I know in the hockey world, especially in the dressing room, I think I'd be pretty good at being approachable, because kids obviously know my story now, and I would be an open door policy. So I would make sure to recognize these kids that it's okay to not be okay. And if there's any problems or anything, to be coming to me. And that's a pretty important question about going to the parents. Now there's a whole other topic on parents in sports and being the crazy parents kind of thing. But I would personally recognize it and deal with it with the kid first, because you never know what's going on with the home life too, right? We don't really know what's going on with the kid. So I would be there for the kid, and if it needs to happen where I need to go to the parents, I definitely would. But no, I would just try to make sure the kids are having fun and working hard and knowing that it's okay to not be okay. So
I think that's smart about not going to the parents, because you know what's going on at home. Like if your father would have told you what your coach said,
yeah,
it would have changed your course. So, it probably is a lot easier to handle it with the children first. So you're creating that safe space with them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's very important to have that relationship with the kids when you're the coach, because you're a huge, huge role model and you're a big part of that kid's life when you're coaching them. So I think it's important. It's nice, obviously, when the kids can maybe get away from the family life for a bit and come to a new team, hang around with friends and get coached too, right? So I think that's very important, because I'm really big on kids playing all multiple sports, right? Because it's not only going to make them a better athlete, it makes them into a better person too. So
I agree. No, I agree. Yeah, like I said, I think you got an amazing story, and there's probably so many people that have the same exact story that it's just too afraid, like you said, to come out and say anything, and that's all people need to hear is just this one story, that gives them the courage to step out and be able to, and again, like you said you wish that somebody would have reached out and grabbed you, I think we all do, which is why why we do what we do,
Exactly.
Because we would have had somebody like us when we were, doing our shit,
No, you said it to a T, man. I mean, it's crazy, and I appreciate you guys too. It's obviously not hard to do. It's hard to do what you guys are doing too, and it's just crazy. It goes back to that small networking in a small world, right? It's more times that we share our stories and what you guys are doing, it's going to open the gates for other people, because we need an army. We need an army, because there's a lot of people struggling out there and scared to talk and thinking they're alone. So no, I appreciate you guys a lot. So
yep. No, we definitely appreciate you coming on, and like I said, man, just keep fighting the good fight, you know, man. And keep doing what you're doing, and just you're already, a role model in your city, and and you're going to continue to be one exactly the way doing exactly what you're doing, Yeah. It's like, don't ever let anybody put you down because of where you've been at, because it doesn't happen. You don't live there no more, like you don't live in my house.
Exactly. No, no, that's 100%. You said it true, man. And sometimes you do need to tell someone that too, because it's hard. Like, you guys know it is. Like, it's so hard to open up because you're the biggest thing about getting judged is what are these guys thinking about me now? Well, how can you criticize someone for bettering themselves? You know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of
like,
my mentality.
You know, it's like they think that we can't be an advocate because we used to use, you know, and drink.
Yeah. Well, you and I both know, man, these mental health advocates now, you know, they're there to collect a paycheck and don't have any history themselves. And, and you know, that's why it's nice to have our stories because we tell it raw and real. And we're not sitting on a PowerPoint and going through slides that kids lose interest in 5 minutes into it. So, yeah, man.
I cannot stand that when, you know, a drug or alcohol counselor or mental health is trying to sit there and give you, you know, help you change your life, and they've never dealt with anything, you know, and unfortunately that's the way it is. And we need so many people to just step up and do what we do, you know, to be able to
because and you guys know too, there's a lot of people scared when you hear a counselor or hear rehab. Like, people know they got to go, but they're scared. So it's nice to have sense of communication like we do right now, and maybe this is helping out people, right? So it's little things. It's talking is huge. So
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to wrap it up now. Thank you again for tuning in with us today. Remember, we recover out loud for those suffering in silence. Keep coming back. Until next time, peace.